Well, guys, hi, thank you so much. Let's start it. Well, first of all, thank you, all of you guys, for being here, coming and listening to me share about how do I think when I start creating something in 3D. Um, Before we start, I just want to thank you so much, KP Entertainment Arts, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to give this workshop and for making it free for everyone online. So yeah, thank you so much. Um, and yeah, before we start, I wanted to ask you guys some questions about the first one is who of you want to see their names in a film or a video game? Because most of us. And who here wants to create something that can inspire others? Same, right? Well, I guess if you answer yes to any of these questions, you're in the right place. And in my opinion, I truly believe that to get to this point, the technical side is not as important as developing a creative mindset and an eye that pays attention to the little details in the world that surrounds us. So today I'm presenting Thinking Beyond the Screen, my process for creating art, not assets. Because I know the department is assets, but I think we need to go a notch on top. So this is some of my work. This was one of my first projects. Then I made this one. And then my latest one is this little office. So yeah, I hope you like it. And yeah, so as I said, I'm not going to go like that deep into the technical side of things in this workshop. I'm going to go a little bit more to the creative part and how to give like that extra to your new projects. But if you're looking for the technical side of it, there are a lot of YouTube channels or Instagram accounts that actually go through this very well. The first one that I like to tell you guys is about Elemenza. If you are looking to modeling topology stuff, he's great, and I learned so much from him actually. Another one, and I actually know this one personally, Mesh Lab, is actually great as well for creating and intro tips for modeling and texturing as well. If you are more on the Blender side, on Mars 3D is doing like a little bit of Blender things, and those are also pretty nice. And of course, me, I oh something. Let me just go back, and I'm giving you a lot of spoilers of this, but yeah, it's fine. So yeah, so I also have an Instagram account, and I do some topology tutorials and stuff, and I also share my work. Follow me if you don't. Shameless plug here. But yeah, so I'm not going to go into technical side, as I said, and I'm going through go to the entire pipeline from modeling, texturing, and some image finaling or compositing. But before all of that, um, before we even start, we need to have an idea, right? That's the first thing we need to think about when we are going to create something. And I have like 3 points that, in my opinion, have like makes a great idea. And the first thing that we need to think about is about the story. What story do we want to tell to our audience? That's the first thing that I always think about. The second thing is, what emotion do I want to convey, or what emotion do I want my audience to feel when they look at my work? And finally, the third one, and I guess this is the most important, at least for students, that is, what skills do we want to show, right? Because when you go like through an interview process or something like that, they do want to know that you know how to do the job, right? And to get things done. So I wanted to do a little bit of an activity with you guys. And can you guys tell me which one, let's say the Pikachu, is the correct one, like the one with the black tail? Who thinks this one is right? What? Who thinks this one is right? Okay. Who's unsure of it? What about the, let's say, the Starbucks one? Who thinks it has like the star? Who thinks? No? There's no star, so this is the correct one. You guys sure of it? Yeah, you're sure? What about the Looney Tunes one? Who thinks it's written like this? No? The other one? This one? And what about this logo? Who thinks which one is the correct one? The middle one, the first one? You guys aren't sure? Well, with this, I wanted to prove it. Yeah. I mean, if you personally ask me, I don't know which one is correct. I just searched for it online. But I wanted to prove a point here. That is that sometimes we don't remember things even though we've seen it a million times, right? And for example, let's say this artist here wanted to do a drawing of this character from Aladdin. And as you can see, he came pretty close to it, but there were some difference still. Like for example, the black thing, the black clothing, he made it red. He also made a snake instead of like this feather that he has here. So he came pretty close, but it's not exactly the same, right? And it's not exactly the same because he wasn't looking at any reference. And guys, I cannot stress this enough. References are so important when doing anything. It doesn't need to be 3D. It's also need to, it can be like any 2D work, right? But we need to see what we are gonna create. And every time that someone asks me about reference, I said that there can be three outcomes when looking at a reference. The first one is you confirm that you were right and you have an amazing memory, right? The second outcome that can happen is you were right, but you started noticing a little bit more things that you didn't remember the first time you think of it. And the third outcome is like you were completely wrong, right? So those are the three outcomes that can happen. And so it's pretty important to look at references. It's actually so important that there's a software just for keeping references. So if you guys don't have PureRef on the side of on your other screen, or if you just have one screen at home, have it like on the side, you're doing something wrong. You should always look at references. This is how my PureRefs look when I do my research. As you can see, they're a little bit messy. I would maybe need to improve that. But as you can see, I have like some of an organization within it, and I can start looking at different stuffs and picking up what I like about any image that I found. And when someone tells me like, where do I find reference? I can find it everywhere, like from real life stuff. Like for example, let's say that I'm doing a phone. So I have a phone so I can look at it. If I don't have that thing that I'm gonna model, I look at reference online on Google, Pinterest, everywhere can inspire you. And the third one is I look at other artists and how they interpret reality, right? Because we're doing that as artists, we're interpreting their reality. But this last one, it's a little bit of a no-go at first, because you do need to base something in real life. And after that, yeah, it's a good thing to look at how other artists interpret it, but also you need to do your own interpretation. So this is like an extra thing that you can add, but the two first ones that I mentioned are the best ones, in my opinion. So I also wanted to do another activity. And if I show you this, guys, which one you think is better? That one, right? So this one is better. This one is better, right? Why? Someone? Clean
Clean
topology?
topology.
Something else? The density? Okay.
It's not messy.
Consistency? No pinching? Okay. Those are all good arguments. But what if I do this? So I hide the topology and I told you that I was trying to model this thing, then which one you think is better? This one. What did you say? Sorry. What did you? The proportions are better. Okay. Another thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can see like the one on the right is suddenly better than the one on the left, right? And do you think that now looking at this, do you think that this is gonna matter? Okay. Okay. It depends, right? It depends on what you're using it for. But the way that I see is like we need to learn, as I said in the beginning, to have like this eye that can do this translation from 2D to 3D. And that's the most important thing that an artist can have, learning to do this copy, let's say, right? And topology comes after that. So first you need to have a good base for you to have good topology on top. For example, a good example is what happens when you go to ZBrush and sculpt. Your sculpting has good topology at the beginning? No, right? It's like this decimated mesh, messy topology. So you don't always need to start with clean topology, and you can always do a retopo, right? So yeah, this is better because it matched the reference better. And us artists in assets, most of the time we are looking at concept arts, right? So I wanted to show this video of my matching the concept art. So this is my final piece, and this is the concept art that I was looking at. So as you can see, it's like pretty close. I still could have gotten some things to match a little bit better, but it's like almost spot on in my opinion. So yeah, this is a very good skill to have, and a skill that I've been told that it's very noticeable. It makes you noticeable. It makes you stand out. And when picking a concept, I always look for this 4 considerations. The first one is that it tells a good story, right? So I saw this one and I was like, damn, like who is this office from, right? Who's using this office? Why is this knife here? Why is everything, right? Like it tells a story. Why it has like a fork stabbing papers? I don't know, but it was interesting and it tells a story. The second one is it has a clear composition. So environment, I just look for foreground, middle ground, background. The third one, it pushes out of your comfort zone. So for this one, I knew since the beginning that I needed to make all the assets look like they were in the same environment, right? So that's a challenge that I had. And also in texturing, I knew that I needed to texture them the same and that they needed to look the same, even though they have different materials like metal, wood, I mean the plants, the leaves, and other ones, right? And the fourth one is like it embraces imperfection because our world is imperfect, right? Everything that is human made has some level of imperfection in it. And even if it's not human made and is made by a machine, when humans touch that item, it becomes imperfect, right? For example, like my phone, I've dropped it a couple of times and it has some dents on it, right? So these little details, I like to capture them when I am modeling or texturing. So let's start talking about modeling. And I like doing these 3 things when modeling. So this is my modeling process. First of all, something that I always do is to set the scale on the real world. And I'm going to do something because I have some more presentation things. Let me see if I can find it before I continue. because it's going to explain it a lot better if I can. Else it's okay. Seems like I don't have it. Oh, here it is. Now it's better. Nice. So I created this fancy animation, guys, and I wanted you to see it. Well, so I focus on the real world scale. So that's the first thing I do. So, for example, the first thing that I look at my concept art was like it had this table, right? So I needed to know what are those measurements of a table in real life. So that was a Google search of how long does a table is and how tall it is. It gave me like 50 to 30 inches about that. So I went back to Maya and I just made a measuring tool and I measured the table height. So it was like 74 centimeters. That's the conversion because Maya works in centimeters. And that gave me the measurement for the entire scene. So you don't need to measure everything, but you can just measure one thing and that will set the scale for the entire scene. This is very important because this will help you when texturing, when doing UVs. I don't know if you know, but a UDEM in real life, it's like 2 meters by 2 meters. So when you unfold, it should be the real scale. And if you have like a small asset, also when you bring to ZBrush or stuff, you can have like some problems. So it helps throughout the pipeline that you set a scale since the beginning. So as you can see, this is my rough blocking, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Or that's my measurement. Yeah. So the second thing I do is a rough blockout. So you can see the blockout versus the final topology that I created. And here's another example with the tape recorder machine. So when I'm doing a blockout, as I said in the beginning with the example, I just focus on the silhouette of the asset. How is it looking and how is it comparing to my reference image, right? And as you can see, that's my topology of my blockout. It's like so messy, but there's nothing that you cannot fix later in the process. And this is my final assets. So here you can see my scene as it was progressing to the different stages. So this is final topology, my first render, and my last render. As you can see, like there's a lot of differences, but something that doesn't vary at all is the position and the shape of the stuffs. Because it's like, since I finished my blocking, I don't change the shape, never again. Like I pay a lot of attention on the blocking side. It should be final, in my opinion. Well, guys, so I'm gonna tell you some modeling tips and tricks that I like to use when modeling. As I said, our world is very imperfect, so I like adding those imperfections. And when I do a bevel, I always add a little, one more edge with a multicle tool, and I just start like moving the vertices around. And as you can see, I start getting this dents on the topology, and this is like very simple. It's just moving some stuffs around. And this is just a cube, and it adds that extra level of detail that will increase, like this looks alive, right? It looks different. It's not like just a cube. It's a cube that has gone through something, right? It has a story behind it. It's like, oh, so the cube fell and it got that dent, right? It's telling a story. And you can also do this in more realistic assets, because the first sample that I gave with that cube was a little bit more on the stylized side. But if you're going for realistic modeling, I also did that with my spaceship. I just grabbed some vertices with the soft selection tool, and I just started moving some vertices around to create these little dents. So maybe the spaceship was flying and some asteroid came and made a dent out of it. So I I think that having pretty clean surfaces is kind of boring, right? And adding these small details tells the story that your asset or your art has been through. And I wanted to show you also how I approach my modeling of 90% of the assets that I made. So as you guys know, in the subdivision workflow, you always need to add some bevels at the end, right? Or so when you add these bevels, your modeling is like finalized, right? But there's this amazing tool called the crease tool. Like I'm showing here that if I add bevels and then I try to modify the topology, it's so bad, right? But if you add creases to it, you have like this preview of how your topology is going to look at the end, or how your mesh is going to look at the end, without adding those bevels. And this is great for concepting, and you can like turn on and off the bevels and stuff. So this is just like a quick thing that I did just to show you guys, quick demo. And at the end, you just smooth it and you get clean topology. And then you just add some bevels. So that's the way that I approach almost all the assets. That's the way that I approach the spaceship. So yeah. And finally, texturing. I guess most of the people that are online are here because of this, because everyone asks me on Instagram, like, how do I texture? What's my process of texturing? And same as I've been saying, I'm repeating myself a lot, but I just pay attention to the world around us, right? So at the beginning, when you start texturing, people are going to say, like when you start learning Substance Painter or Mario or whatever, people are going to say, add color variation, right? Just add color variation, add dust, add dirt. If it's metal, the peeling off, right? That's the basic 101 texturing. And I guess I did a pretty good job with this one. Like I added some color variations. There are some bricks that are darker than others, so they look like maybe they replaced those, right? I don't know. But this is a good base, in my opinion. And we can add on top of this a lot of details. For example, what if it rains a lot and maybe hail starts coming? So it's going to get a little bit damaged, right? And if it rains, it's going to get humid. So you can add fungi as well. And maybe there are a couple birds going through it. Maybe there are some trees nearby that some birds stand up, and yeah, unlucky house, right? So these little details are what pushes the asset to another level, right? So this is how it started, and this is how it started, and yeah, it doesn't want to play. Yeah, so these were my references to making what I just showed you. So you can see, like, I don't know where these people live, but and also I research about like those fungi that are on top of the roofs. And yeah, some hail marks there. And I started like looking at these references yesterday that I was doing this presentation, and I just realized that I can add like a little bit more of this white thing here. Maybe there's a lot of rain or water accumulating there. I don't know. Like all this researching and looking at the world will make your piece stand out from the others. So I want to show you guys my texturing process. And yeah, as I said, again, this is not working. As I said, like color variation, yeah, it's necessary. We all start with that. So I create like a base layer that has everything turned on, and then color variations on top of that. And to these color variations, I also add some roughness variation. And so I have like this base, and I'm texturing some painted metal here. So I was doing this on the top of my head. So it's like, oh, so painted metal, so some painting is spilling off of it. And I added some dirt, of course, texturing 101. And then, yeah, so I got this result with some base color color variation and roughness variation, the metal showing, some dirt, and that's it, right? So I got to this, and some people might say like, this is good enough. But that's when we look at references and we start pushing ourselves a little bit more, right? So I was doing this on over the top of my head. And then when I started to look at reference, I started seeing how something really is. So it's like, oh, so the metal is not showing. It's already rust, right? So I changed that. I also noticed that there was a little bit of height variation of it, some displacement, some bump. I added that. I also looked at on the top part, there was this white thing accumulating over it, maybe dust. I also were looking at those spots on the bottom. I started painting some stuff. And I also realized that not all the acid had those grunches or those surface imperfections. There are some parts, like the ones below the thing, that maybe cover it from the rain, something. So those parts are completely clean. So I just created a mask with an anchor point, and I was just painting some areas where there was no surface imperfection. And now it's looking like a way better in my opinion. It adds like some extra things to it. And that's how I texture like painted metal, for example. And yeah. So I added this image because I wanted to show you guys that your render is not your final image. Like some people say that I just render from Maya and it's done. It's not. And if you don't trust me, just look at the industry. What happens when someone renders? It goes to lighting, it goes to compositing, it goes to image finaling. There are a lot of process after someone renders, right? So why us as students, we render something and we leave it like that? We shouldn't, right? And this, you can see like how many masks I created, and I mask each asset individually, and I play with the color, texture, and everything on top of the render, right? So I created almost 80, well, more than 80 actually, I guess like more than 80 masks to increase the appealing of my composition. So to finalize, tools are very important. Don't get me wrong. Like topology is important, and getting to know all this like tools and crazy stuff about softwares, it's great. And you guys should all know it, right? But it's up to you, because the school will give you this, right? YouTube tutorials will give you this, but it's up to you to give them a purpose and meaning, right? And if you merge these two, you can create art. And art means generating connections, creating connections, generating emotions, and giving your pieces soul. So people tell me like, how do I do this? How do I get better, right? And I guess like my only answer is to keep creating and failing in the process and learn about those failings, right? So you can create again and fail again, because we're always gonna fail. Like I look at my art and I see a lot of things that there could be better, but I'm gonna get better by looking at those, right? So yeah, the effort you put in today will be what sets you apart tomorrow. So guys, thank you for listening to my story, and it's your turn. Go create yours. So any questions?
I think the presentation was really amazing. The
Thank
slide
you.
is so like, well preparing. I can tell so many aspects. And also, I think from the presentation, I learned a lot. Like you say, like story really matter. And then if you look back to the story, you will see actually there's so many details you can keep adding on. I really like that. And only one thing I think maybe you didn't cover, it's just like during this like amount of time, how can you manage to create so many amazing work, really high quality? It's just like how did you manage your time and how did you plan out every stage? Like what kind, how many time you're gonna put into this stage, and then overall LDG management?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's a great question, actually. I guess my answer is like I'm kind of a workaholic. So I do work a lot. But I also went out. I also was doing some school stuff, and I don't know if I should say this.
Online.
Yeah, but yeah, I just focus on what I wanted to do,
Okay.
right? So I knew since the beginning that I wanted to be modeling texturing, right? So animation classes, I didn't put a lot of attention in. Rigging classes, I didn't put a lot of attention in. So I just focused, and if it was a modeling class and I didn't care about what they were teaching me, I also didn't put a lot of attention into it, right? And I was like focusing on my art and I wanted to create. So I guess it's just that. It's like getting to know what you want and just put 100% of your efforts in that and don't worry about anything else. Because at the end, your grade is not going to give you a job, but your reel is going to give you a job, right? Oh, there are some questions online. So
Yeah, so we have a question online from Singh.
Mhm.
And they have sent an image of a plane.
Mhm.
But the question is how to not get distracted from the reference when you look at a reference like a sci-fi reference and all you see is the panel lines and all of that stuff. And they're saying that they almost forget where to start or what to start with.
Mm.
So how do you pick the best approach to start something?
I think like as I said, like I always start with the rough blockout. So my starting point is big to small, right? So when you start, you don't focus about like the details. And if you go to my art station, you can see like how do I approach the spaceship. And at the beginning, I didn't do any panel lines. So yeah, you just need to focus first on the shape and the silhouette of what you're doing. And after that, you start adding like small details, smaller details. And so yeah, that's how I try to approach things. So don't worry about your panel lines first. You just do your main shape, your blockout, and after that, you increase the topology, you add more panels, you increase the topology, you add small details, and then at the end, the last thing that you add is like the nails and stuff, the bolts. So yeah, I guess that's my answer to your question. I hope I answered it.
Thing, do let us know if your question was answered well.
Please.
Thank you. Going off.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Oh,
I'm giving them all.
Going off of that question about the beginning parts of like your process,
Mhm.
like how malleable like should your idea that you're like going off of be? Like should you like iterate on it, or should you like when do you realize that you need to like grow it
Mm.
or like scale it down even, right?
Yeah. I do think that you should be 95% clear from the beginning. Like, what is my target with this? What do I want to achieve with this? Like, what skills do I want to show? As I said, what story do I want to tell? And yeah, for example, if I put an example of set the example of my spaceship, like at the beginning, I wanted to be like super hyper realistic, right? But it was like my 5th time using like Painter, and I guess like I didn't have like the knowledge to get like that level of detail. So instead of like hyper realistic, I went like a little bit more stylized. It still looks realistic, but yeah, so I set it down, right? And so yeah, you can be a little bit malleable about your process, but I will say like do have like a very clear idea of how you want to start or where you're gonna go. There's another one.
I have two. The first one is going off the first question. and you said you were like workaholic.
Yeah.
So, and I have a bit of a problem with that too. I get lost in detail when or what makes you stop like working because your final project has so many objects. I would get lost in the detail of a single one. What makes you stop?
I guess that also happens to me a lot. I get lost in the details, but yeah, you do need to tell yourself, am I doing too much, or is it gonna be enough, right? For example, for this spaceship, I spent maybe like 2-3 weeks texturing the engine, and you cannot see it. So it's like all those hours were like thrown to the trash, right? So I guess after that, I did start to be a little more careful on where do I spend my time. So I guess like I felt, right? And I learned about that.
Yeah.
And now yeah, I still like sometimes get lost in the details. But as I said, you need to think of where is this gonna go, right? Is it gonna be on a movie, or is it gonna be just part of your reel? Is it gonna be part of your reel? Then what are you gonna show? Are you gonna show like the feet of it, or you're gonna show just the face? So if you're gonna show just the face, put effort in the face, right? If you're gonna show like the entire body, put effort in the entire body. You're not gonna show the back, then don't. So yeah, just focus on what you want to show, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I really have no other answer to that because I also do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other question is for reference for texturing when it's like cartoony.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still look for real life, or do you look more for like more cartoony to the artwork, or both, or how is that like thought
Yeah, how I
line? Yeah.
I look for both. I look for real art, for real life references, and also I look for artistic ones, right? Like for example, like Mitchell's versus the Machines. I had it like all over my PRF. Spider-Verse, of course. But like when you start looking at these movies, sometimes we don't realize because like the characters are so stylized, but maybe the texturing of the entire thing, like the environment and stuff, goes a little bit more to the realistic side. I mean, it's still stylized, but pay attention to that because I came across that that some assets do have like a lot of like roughness variation. That is something that you want to avoid. And of course, there are exceptions, like for example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mayhem. I don't know why. That one is like so stylized, and everything's stylized. Like you can tell it's 100% stylized, right? So that one was also like a big reference of mine. But yeah, you also need to know how is that material gonna look in real life, right? So if it's plastic, like I do look at plastic, like I just saw the trash can, right? and yeah, and then like look at some other references, or just imagine like if I'm painting this in a piece of paper, how is it gonna look, right? Because at the end, you're going for that look, like to the look, right?
We have another question from Vedant online.
How you doing?
And they ask, should we invest our time learning new things, or should we improve our current skills? Because as I see the reference, I get distracted to do something beyond, but after hours, there is no results.
That's a great question, and it's gonna be like my same answer. Just what do you want to do at the end, right? Because for example, I have a friend that just changed his career path and started learning Houdini, and now he's great at Houdini. But he changed; he learned something else, right? And but for me, it was more like I do want to pursue this specialization, so I just made myself better at the tools that I already knew. So it depends on what you want to do, where you want to go. Also, like if you want to like join the industry, just like look at the studio that you want to join and see what are they asking for, what are the softwares that they want. And if you already have like 2 or 3 out of the 4 that they ask, maybe you're good enough and you can focus yourself on improving your skills on those ones.
Like you're looking.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, I just forgot my question. Oh yeah. Like as you work on environment, the stylized environment, so how like you have like one concept art with like only in one angle. So how much detail you give for the part of the model which is not visible?
I didn't texture anything that was not visible. Yeah,
That's it. So
because
you don't think about like if like you wanna do something with like you wanna do multiple camera angles for
Mhm.
your final renders. So
Mhm.
you just keep for one render thing according to that camera and don't do anything multiple cameras.
yeah, that's a good question. I actually didn't cover that, but also when I start setting my scene with the scale, as I said, I also set up my camera, and I think of how am I gonna show it. Like for example, if I'm gonna do it for my reel, am I gonna have a turntable of this asset? And maybe like if the asset is interesting, for example, the tape recorder, I was like, I'm gonna show this asset, so I'm gonna texture everything. But if it's like the table, it's like I'm not gonna do a turntable of this asset because it's just a square, a cube. So I'm not gonna texture what you cannot see. Yeah, I just pay attention of what the camera sees and just focus on that.
We have another question from Izzy online, and
Hi.
it is how to choose the right poly count.
Oh, also another great question. And it depends, right, on where are you going, what do you want to do. For example, if you're going for games, you may need to do some more research on what is supported, right? Because is the game for Android? Is it the game for Apple? It's for computer, it's for Xbox. Like all of this have different poly counts um, that they can support, right? So that's for games. And if you're going to VFX and animation, it also 100% depends on like what the studio wants. Maybe VFX, you can go a little bit more over the top because it's not real time. But there are also some studios that work on like kids shows, and their poly count should be lower. So just target your poly count to the studio that you want to go. And if it's only for your asset, I guess like for like your own work, I guess it's no problem with that. So yeah, there's no camera.
So when you're texturing something based off of concept art, how much of it do you paint by hand and how much of it do you like, I don't know, take from the concept art and kind of paste it into your texture?
Nice. That's a great question because I use that approach to my environment. So I mean, I guess I can go back. I need to show you guys.
Especially because for the office
Yeah.
scene that you made, I noticed like a lot of posters and
Yeah.
signs in the back, so I was kind of curious.
Um,
You copied those by hand.
let me.
Or something.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's almost matching like everything, right? And the way that I approach this is that as I had my camera set it up, you can import that camera into Substance Painter. I don't know if you guys knew that, but you can take a camera from Maya and import it into Painter, and you can do a projection of textures. So I could have actually gone away without texturing anything and just painting the projection because I copied the concept exactly on Maya since the modeling. But of course, I did wanted to do my own textures. So what I did use the projection to do the posters, but at the end I traced over it. So it's not the projection, it's like my drawing that I traced over the projection that I that is the concept art, right? And it went away. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like I traced over it, and for the texturing, what I did was I created smart materials. Smart materials? Yeah, I created smart materials on Painter that had like 3 or 4 layers that all of the assets share. It doesn't matter if it was wood, it doesn't matter if it was metal. It was just like the stylization base that I wanted to all the assets to share, right? So it has like some grunge leaks that acted like brush strokes. So all the assets have like that brush stroke. And yeah, like this brush strokes. Let me just do the other one that is not changing between the concept art for me to.
Material step and posture.
Yeah, it is. It is. For example, like here you can see like these color variations. They're all for the grunges that I added, and also like like this ones on the chair are also like grunge leaks. They're all over the place. They're all over the assets. And on top of that base, I did a lot of hand painting. Like these lines are hand painted. Those are not lights from, from lighting. Also, those are painted. So a lot of painting I did for this one. Did that answer your question, or I? Yeah. Sorry.
My question is a little bit more precise. When would you create a hole in the model, and when would you create a hole? Because I see like bullet holes or like flashes or whatever. And when would you just do it on textures? Like for example, the hole for the knife, I think I saw it is like there, it's like extra geometry, but I think the bullets aren't on the model. So what does it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's also so many great questions right here. I guess it depends on how close it is to the camera. So the chair is gonna be like on the front, and like now I made like that mistake that you cannot even see it, right? So I made that topology for no one to see. But yeah, so the holes are completely painted, and I did it like that because I knew that it was gonna be black. So I said like there's no point of like creating the hole if it's not gonna be seen, right? So I just painted it over it. But yeah, it's just like how close it is to the camera. It's like when you chose between displacement or bump map. Like it's gonna be so far, use just bump map. It's gonna be close, use displacement, right? Kind of like that. Cengiz had a question.
So are you like when you're modeling and texturing, like these are different stages of the pipeline, right?
Modeling texturing, yeah.
But do you like hop between the two, or is it like you do everything like in one and then finish it, and then you like move on to like the different like the next stage, like which would be like texturing, right?
Yeah. So for this last one that I did, I follow a little bit more of a studio pipeline. So each asset, I first model the entire scene, and then I exported each asset separately, and I work on each asset in its own file, and then I reference all of them in this scene. So the scene is like 5 megabytes. Wow. But like each asset, it's like on a separate file, right? So that's like how a studio works. So I wanted to do that with this one. So yeah, I did a lot of back and forth. For example, I got a revision that I didn't have. For example, the bat was missing completely. So I needed to go back to modeling and remodel it and model it, right? And also like I tried doing this folds of the cardboard in texture, but I didn't like how it was looking, so I modeled them in Maya. So yeah, that can also solve your question. Like maybe you can try doing some texturing stuff, and if it doesn't work, go back, model it, and you can re-import your mesh every time on Substance Painter. Just click the preserve brush strokes, and you're golden.
Yeah, just going off that question, like is working like between programs like something that we need to get good at making as smooth as possible, or like without
Yeah.
like hiccups?
Yeah. I will suggest like it's a good ability to move between different programs and to go back and forth. Because maybe you're in studio, you're modeling, it goes to texturing, and texturing gives you like some revisions, so they give it back to you, and now you need to do some modeling thing, right? Or maybe you're already texturing in a studio, and the asset department said like, hey, we need to do some changes to the modeling. So it goes back to modeling and then goes back to you, but you already painted something, so you need to import it back, and you need to know how to do that smoothly as possible, I guess.
We have a question/request from Diego, which is he'll be sending some of his students to you so that you can provide them with an observation exercise so that they can get a bonus to try this out in their assignments.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Send them
And
my way.
we also have another question from Aditi. So for the concept art, what is your approach at it? As I haven't done it yet, but I want to start doing it. But because it's a lot of work to do, so to ease it down, what are the things to focus on? Like you said, setting up camera settings and all that.
I didn't get the question. It's like to start doing like concept art or
It's like when you're trying to, as far as I understand, it's when you're trying to follow concept art, what is your approach?
I start also like as if it was any asset, right? Like small to big to small.
I think in the sense like, would you set up your camera first?
Oh,
or what part would you tackle first? How would
Okay,
you kind of organize
Sure.
which things you should take care of first?
Okay, yeah. So first, I do set up my camera. After I set up my camera, I make like a cube. Like this is gonna be a blocking of the most, the biggest part or the biggest asset in the scene. For example, in this case was the table, and I create the table, and with the camera, I put those two in a group. So I make the table and the camera into one group, and then I scale it to my measuring that I made before. I don't know if I answered your question correctly, but yeah, it's like I do set up my camera first. That's the first thing that you need to do. You need to set up your camera. And to set up your camera, you need like some kind of guide, right? So just grab the biggest asset on your concept and do a cube. Do a very rough blocking, and then just try to match the camera to the perspective of that cube.
And Diego also says his students are already here, so they can talk to you.
Okay.
So my question is, on your opinion, it's better to create like a hard surface model, like with detailed UV and with a really cool scene, or something more simpler, but with a clean topology, with like just a well done model, but something simpler to be accepted by studio, on your opinion?
I guess more than simpler, I will care more about like the story that the asset is telling, right? Like, because it can be. I remember this lead modeling artist at ILM told me, I prefer that you do a well done brick than the fanciest spaceship, but it doesn't tell anything. So I guess you can see like how important it is to make something, even if you see as boring or simple, but that is well made. So I will focus on doing something like well made rather than doing something huge but without any meaning.
Don't show off by your sheep in the next.
Okay, we have another question online by Ricardo. And it is, to pursue a career as a modeler, would knowledge of ZBrush be necessary or would Maya alone suffice? Perhaps the answer depends on the specific area of modeling one wishes to specialize in. But what are your thoughts on it?
I guess that this industry is very like software agnostic. Like if you show that you can get a result, it doesn't matter like the software that you're doing it with. But yeah, like learning some softwares, and like of course, like if you want to do like characters, you're not gonna model a character in Maya, right? Like it's gonna be pain. It's possible. I've seen a YouTube video that does it. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, like you learn ZBrush, right? So if you're going for more of an organic thing, so learn ZBrush. If you're going for assets and hard surface things, I guess Maya will be enough for you.
I like asking every artist this, and the question is, how do you deal with burnouts? Because you mentioned that you're workaholic, so does that perhaps get you burnt out like more often? And how do you, like, especially if you're working on a personal project where you have no deadlines or nothing forcing you to complete the project? How do you deal with it?
When I was working on, very great question, by the way. When I was working on my reel, at first my motivation was learning, right? Like I wanted to learn as much as I can. And after I thought that I was like on a good standpoint, my motivation just dropped. I was like, I mean, I guess that I'm good enough to get a job, right? And people were telling me that. People were saying like, oh, like, why are you at school? Just go get a job, go apply, right? And I did that. I went out and I started applying to everything. And I got no answer. And I started doing this demo reel reviews with like lead artists. And my first like project that it was like 100% like just me was a sci-fi bike. It was not that great as the new things that I've done, of course, right? It was my first one. But I submitted to this demo review, and this guy, this lead, told me, it's looking good, but look, who are you going against? And he showed me like this spaceship, Greek spaceship, and I was like, damn, it was like reality hitting me, right? It's like, okay, like I think like I thought that I was good, but I was inside my own bubble. And then I open my eyes and I look at all these amazing artists, and it's like I cannot compare to them, right? And that, instead of like bringing me down, it gave me like motivation to get to their level and push more and be better than them. And that's why I created that spaceship. And I had like in my other screen, it was just this guy's spaceship. Like I had it there, and it's like I need to do something better than him. And I guess that I did, because like I had this list of things that I can borrow from him. So he had the dents that I was talking about. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. That's how I learned it. I also learned from him that you can crash stuff if it's like on the back, or if it's like mechanism, it doesn't need to work, right? It should look like it's supposed to work. So I learned those two things. I borrowed that from them, and I said like, what can I do better? So his topology was not that great. It's like, okay, so I need to do what he did, and I need to make things that I do better. right? And I merged these two, and I created the yellow spaceship, right? And maybe you guys look at it, and at first glance, it's like, damn, it's amazing, right? Because that was how I was feeling about his work. It's amazing. But then you start looking at it, and you can find like a lot of details that I didn't pay attention to, right? So maybe you look at it and you can say, huh, maybe I can borrow what he did and add stuff that I do better and create something better.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I have a question for you. And I guess it's less of a question, but I was hoping you could expand a little bit on how you find your inspiration, where you find it from.
I find my inspiration on, first, other artists. Right? There are people out there that are creating like this amazing stuff. Just stop using ZBrush for 1 minute and you'll see a lot of crazy work right there. And it's probably bringing you down because you're doing like this thing that has no shape, and then this amazing work comes on the screen. So instead of that bringing you down, just learn from that, right? And I found inspiration in other artists. Like I look a lot at ArtStation, and also I watch a lot of movies, right? So for example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like the style is amazing. Also like Mitchell's. I mean, I guess we all here have seen Spider-Verse and has motivated us to create something. So yeah, just look out there to things that you like and things that you will want to create.
Appreciate the answer. That being said, I don't think we have any more questions.
Good. Well, guys, thank you so much for the time, for being here. Hope you learn. And also for the guys online, thank you for being there as well, for joining and for following me on Instagram, because I know that you're here because of that. So thank you, and hope you learn, and just send me a DM if you want. Also, like, I wanted to say that, well, it's okay, but you can follow me online, and also you can follow KPU Entertainment Arts on Instagram. Yeah, thank you.
We actually have one very good last question.
Okay.
How to not get demotivated when you look at others on ArtStation.
Yeah. As I said, it's more of a mentality thing, I guess. Because yeah, like I also look at this beast of artists, and sometimes I am like, I cannot do that. I cannot create something as good as they can. But also checked how much time they have been doing it. Because I saw the other day like this stitch made by a random artist, and I was like, damn, this is better than even Disney's one. And then I look at his LinkedIn, and he has worked like 15 years in the industry, and it's like, oh, like I mean, he's been doing that for 15 years. Of course, he has learned like by all of his mistakes, right? So he's doing like that great stuff, and I'm just doing this for like I just been doing this like for like a little bit more over 2 years, and I'm doing like something that it's up there, you know. So it's not about how much time you've been doing it. Also, like it depends of a lot of stuff, but yeah, just don't get demotivated, and use these artists as opportunities to learn from them and not as opportunities to get demotivated. So it's just like a mentality thing. Just change that mentality. All good? No more questions.
There's one more.
Okay, yeah. Jordan.
And it says, what are the worst things that can happen while modeling?
Crashed? Corrupting file? Yeah. Maya crashing and you not saving for an hour. That happened to me. So, yeah, turn on that autosave. Yeah, also when you have some non-manifold geometry, like deep into the file, sometimes you don't know where that is. So I guess that's the worst thing that can happen. Not following your concept art. That's also
Yes, I think that's it.
awesome. Thank you guys for joining me here today. And yeah, follow me on ArtStation, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and also follow KPU Entertainment Arts. And thank you.